I didn't have a lot of experience with quitting. And the one experience I had, which was cruel, was brutal. And so I was not going to quit law school. I was going to power through if it killed me.
Yo, Munir. Creativity. The happiest guys on the internet. What's going on, brother? Yo, Munir. Hello. We're here.
Hey,
We made
howdy,
it.
y'all.
It happened. We
Yes.
got a howdy. We
I mean, come on. Like, give the people what they want.
give the people what they want.
Wow, we never
Amen.
considered howdy. It could be
We-
howdy, Munir.
It could be
I'm
Howdy
not-
Munir. Oh my goodness. We've got a
Yeah.
whole new show with
Yes.
different sensibilities.
We can have regional shows.
Regional shows are great. That
Yeah.
would work.
Yes.
We're all about
Howdy, howdy from the East Coast of Texas.
it. Howdy from the East Coast of Texas. That's it. Exactly. We've got it all going on.
Oh, I love that.
Rob, I am so excited to introduce us to my dear friend Andrea Greer. And Andrea, welcome to Yo Munir, a show celebrating
Yo.
practice and creativity, hosted by the happiest guys on the internet. I'm Munir Haddad, co-founder of award-winning advertising agency Kiosk and a firm believer in stakeholder capitalism. Rob?
And I'm Rob Haddad, former producer and director who has spent his career in sports media and technology. Munir, who do we have on the show?
Andrea Greer. Andrea Greer's career has been shaped start to finish by artists, activists, and the places they build. A lifelong Houstonian, she started out interning for Houston's legendary Art Car Parade and now serves as senior advisor for strategy and research at Project Row Houses, the third ward institution behind the recent restoration of the Eldorado Ballroom. Her parents would like you to know that she has 2 law degrees. She thinks fundraising is a creative practice and a hard one to teach. We're thrilled to welcome Andrea to the pod.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, they always say 2 is better than 1.
I mean, sure, there are 2 of you, after all. And I have to say, I shared your bio of me with a friend last night who said, everyone's got to get them a friend who can write a bio like that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
That's lovely. Well, you're inspiring, so it becomes easier to do these things.
Oh, thanks for
I
the
had to
love.
write my own bio.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have written your bio, Rob.
Oh,
I didn't know you wanted help. Oh, my goodness. Andrea, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, besides the East Coast of Texas?
Yeah, I think everyone has figured that out. I mean, and I really am from here. And it's funny, in Texas, if you're talking to just a generic Texan, I was actually not born in Texas. I came here when I was 1.5. Now, my dad was from Texas, and I've been here a long time. In Houston, however, where I actually live, like the definition of native is, do you want to be a native Houstonian? If you say yes, you are. Like Houston is great that way, I feel. And I hope most Houstonians behave that way. I think they do. So it's one of the reasons like I love it here. We take all comers. I did grow up here, and this weird thing where like I grew up here, but I went to 5 or 6 different schools. So I have this like I know a bunch of people all over town, and they're like, "You just passed through," and I was like, "No, I'm still here." And then my parents all of a sudden said, "Hey, we are moving to the East Coast. Dad's going to work
Not
in
of
New York,
Texas.
right? Exactly. And Dad's going to work in New York." And I said, "Well, where are we going to live?" And they were like, "Well, we can't decide. Maybe Connecticut, maybe New Jersey." I was a little uptight as a kid. And I was like, "Well, where will I go to school?" They're like, "Oh, we'll figure it out. It's not acceptable." So I walked up to the library and like for all the kids out there listening, this is how it used to be. I got paper brochures for boarding schools. I leafed through them. I wrote away for applications that they mailed back to me. And I ended up at a boarding school in New Hampshire, not necessarily because of its reputation, but more because uh, we had a house there and I went to camp there and I loved it. And my step grandfather had indoctrinated me in the culture and traditions of his small college, which is, of course, where I then ended up and how I met Munir. It took us, what, 3 minutes to get to Dartmouth, which I understand is like actually a long time when Munir's in the conversation, right? So, and I remember meeting you like almost immediately, and you had this like gorgeous long flowing hair.
I did have hair.
and and you told us all your name was Moon, and we were all like, yeah, yeah, Munir. Like, no. So, I loved it there, and I was like, oh, I'm never going back to that provincial state and that hick town. And I graduated and came right back to Houston and pretty much have not left. So,
Thanks, Rob.
yep, exactly. I didn't want to say, but like it was flowing.
Okay.
You know, as was mine.
Now I wear
So
wigs.
it's it's not the important thing.
So I heard you describe yourself as uptight. Uh, What was that move like for someone who needed
Whew.
clarity and certainty and structure?
It was okay in the end, because the boarding school ended up being the perfect fit for me, which was why my parents had moved me around because like they couldn't quite get, and it wasn't like I was a problem, but I didn't it didn't gel for me anywhere really in Houston till the last school I got to, and then of course I was like, well, I could just stay, right? I can live in a friend's garage apartment. There's no problem. And they're like, yeah, you're gonna be in 10th grade. You're coming with us. You're not like you don't get to just like move out on your own. I was like, oh, I'm sure it would be fine. Don't worry about me. I'll make it. And they were like, yeah, no. So I mean, and I will not lie. Also, the first 6 weeks or so of boarding school. Uh, I was terrified. I was like, where have I ended up? I am a total hick. Who are these people who have names that you see on like the shelves in grocery stores and major plants and companies and uh I mean, it was overwhelming. And then I was like, oh, but these are kind of my people in as much as it was kind of a bunch of dorks. I was real happy with that. So, you know. But
Smart
it's so
people all together in the woods.
right. And I think moving place to place, so I sort of had that like almost like I was an army brat. I was used to being uprooted and starting over again. So it probably went better for me than it might have had I been not. But I mean, look, I'm the oldest child. I was anxious and wanted to do everything right the first time. When I was learning how to talk, apparently, my mom told me once that someone was making fun of me for baby talk because I couldn't quite, and so I just stopped talking for like several. They were kind of worried. It was a long
Oh.
time. And then when I started again, it was like complete sentences, like because I was like, no one's gonna make fun of me. I guess I wasn't
Ah,
doing it right. Better wait till I can do it right. So
that is amazing.
yeah,
That is true enthusiasm and perfection. How does
not
perfection
not
show
always the
up?
best. Not always the best, right? Not always the best. No.
But your capacity to take a initiative, not
Mhm.
everybody has that level of initiative. You talk about going to the library, which
Mhm.
means that you had to get to the library, which means that you had to want to go to the library, and then seeking out information and then actually doing something about it. Where does
Mhm.
do you know where that came from, or is that just internal?
I think it's internal, and I think that ties into that last line of my bio, like what is hard to teach?
Right.
Because when something is native to how you do it, you don't understand unless you have a whole lot of self-awareness that not everyone functions that way.
Right.
And then like how do you say to someone, I don't know, problem solve? I mean, you can actually just say, I don't know, problem solve.
Right.
How that is received, you can't control, and what that means to the person, you can't control.
Right.
So. Yeah. Got lucky?
Yeah.
So I hear oldest child. Munir also oldest child. I also am married to oldest child. And we
Hmm.
had Monica Nassif on, the founder of Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day, who is the oldest daughter of
Hmm.
nine.
Overwhelming, yes.
I'm wondering, that library experience is seeking control of
Hmm.
something that was uncertain to you. And I'm wondering if that's a connection to what you do now in terms of how you help people in the work that they do. And if you seek out those opportunities to provide people with the structure and certainty that they're seeking.
I will tell you yes and no. And I think most people's experience of me, at least from the start, um, oh, so you do all of the like, what color are you? What shape are you? All of these workplace things. And I did one with a group of people once, and we went around the room, and it was the pick a shape to draw: circle, square, triangle, or squiggly lines. And as we went around the room and everyone shared their shape, pretty much everyone like already knew what the person was going to say, and they got to me and they were like, finally we've got a squiggle, and I was like, no, I'm a square. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm a systems thinker and I organize it. And they're like, oh, so do I hide it? Am I just like chaotic on the surface? Who knows? So I don't really know what I seek out is the answer, and
Hmm.
how I communicate my. I try to impose structure. Maybe I've gotten better at hiding it so people don't realize I'm trying to corral them, which ties into a lot of how Munir and I got to know each other.
So this is a great segue. Thank you for just like giving us the layup. I met you in a cruise shell, which is a rowboat with oars,
Hmm.
and Andrea, you were a coxswain. We were about a couple of inches off the water,
Hmm.
and you have 8 people, some of whom knew what they were doing, and some of whom had never done this before in their lives.
Hmm.
And the coxswain serves as the default captain of the boat. And so you have these unruly teenage men. I would boys, man, child.
On the
We
way.
were
On the
we
way.
were very much in that awkward position of
Hmm.
growing up,
Hmm.
and we show up, and there is structure because you had some experience, or if you didn't, you
Hmm.
faked it really, really well.
I did have some experience, yes. This is one of my favorite things, especially living in Texas, y'all. I'll be talking with all these guys, and they're like, you may have heard of the sport football. That's kind of a big deal down here. And, people are talking about football and sports is a big thing. Uh, and I'm like on the perimeter of a conversation, and I'll say, oh, so did y'all play any sport in school? Well, no, I mean, but I'm like, oh, because I was a recruit at a D1 school on a men's team. And they're like, were you the kicker on the football team?
Yeah.
To a person, they guessed kicker on the football team. No, but I found out after the fact that I was a recruit. Like they knew I was coming. Who knew?
Yeah.
Just like, you know.
Which is
Um,
also like never in the world would that happen in today's world.
yeah, I hope that I would have known. And in light of crew and college admissions, like real deal. Like I actually had done the sport and continued to do it,
Yeah.
unlike the people who went to jail. But no, I mean, I had that experience, but I, y- it really, it shaped my whole experience of college for the first
Okay.
half.
Yeah.
Um, and I think in a way became part of, like it took me, it sort of didn't, because I did it in high school when I went to
Hmm.
boarding school also. So that's why I came with experience. Um, but I had been this person who, obviously, as we've said, like I really tried to control all situations, and I really also lived in my head a lot. And the one thing you cannot do if you are 9 people in a boat that's a foot and a half wide, that's 60 feet long and has a rudder the size of a credit card is not be in sync with people.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of how to frame this to like a creative practice. And I think what I learned, I came up with the term as I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, I learned kinetic communication. And then I was kind of impressed with myself because I was like, oh, that's a great coinage. And then I was
That
like,
is a
oh,
great coinage.
I better Google that shit because I bet it's not actually my own creation, right? And it's not, it turns
Yeah.
out. And I found a great definition on Wookiepedia, which is not, to be clear, Wikipedia. I mean like Chewbacca, Wookiepedia.
Okay.
There's apparently a race in the Star Wars universe that excels at kinetic communication, which is essentially like being deeply attuned to how people are moving together, alone, and in reaction to each other and reaction to external forces, which is what you absolutely have to be if you're getting 9 people moving together down a river in a straight line,
Yeah.
or not in a straight line, or in the fastest line,
In the
because we were
fastest line.
fast, to be
We were
clear.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not in the fastest boat after a while, but I did enjoy having some experience in that boat. And
Hmm.
I have to paint people a little picture because it's not clear from what you're saying, maybe, how incredible that experience was. So if people listening have not read Boys in the Boat, read Boys in the Boat. It's incredible. And if you think about the capacity to get 8 humans and the coxswain in sync, the coxswain's role is to ensure those 8 people are in sync so that they can move fast and that they're steering at the same time and motivating. And so when you were in Andrea's boat, you knew you were going to win because that kinetic communication that you're talking about was inspiring. And in workplace, when you find people to do something well, you find that they're always booked and they're always busy. Everybody wanted to be in Andrea's boat because of she was motivating. When the boat came off the rack, because it comes off a rack and you have to bring it down to the water, it was like a drill sergeant. And this was good because it meant that from a creativity standpoint, you could not have to worry about helping the person. Like you could turn that part of your mind off and focus on the thing that you were supposed to focus on because you knew that Andrea was in control. And if you didn't think Andrea was in control, she would remind you. And that's not a bad thing because that allows people then to work in coordination with each other and focus
Hmm.
on the job that they're supposed to do so that they can succeed.
Yeah.
I just had to say that because
Well,
it
thank you.
truly was and continues to be something really special to have been part of. And I don't know
Hmm.
that you know this about you, but I will tell you that we all knew who was the best and we all wanted to be part of what you were bringing.
Well,
Seriously,
thank you.
because you
Thank
helped
you.
us succeed.
I appreciate that. And it was also kind of my first big life-shattering disappointment in a way when I left the team, but also changed my life in a wonderful way too. Um, and did you go out with us on the 25th anniversary when we went out in the boat
I
with a couple
did.
heavyweights and a couple women?
I think I
I
may have
mean,
even been stroke on that boat.
I was so anxious about that. Like I almost didn't come because I was like, we're gonna get in the boat. Will I get in the boat? Will I
Yeah.
fit in the boat? And one of the best things that happened to me was that at the dinner that night, I was talking to the wife of one of the heavies. Crew has lightweight rowers and heavyweight rowers, and lightweights are better, obviously. And but the heavyweights are fine. Uh, but she said to me, "Oh, are you the woman who was in the boat with my husband?" And I was like, I wasn't sure where that was going to go. And I said, "Yeah." And he has not stopped talking about you all day. Or have you like continued to do this? Like he was like, you were just like, he just won't shut up. And I was
Yeah.
like, I haven't been on the water, in decades, really. But you don't forget
You don't forget
that.
that.
And then I'm
No.
thinking to myself, you don't have anxiety dreams for 2 decades about the sport without remembering how to do it.
No.
So I did a lot of visualization in
Yeah,
preparation for the
okay.
25th
Especially
anniversary.
of the
So
Charles. So, does Boston trigger
yeah,
you?
Boston. Boy, turns out you can't go home again. But if you do, it still smells like patchouli oil throughout Cambridge, everywhere you go. Yeah.
We that boat ride, I think it was a bucket, which means that they had it was starboard or as stroke, and
Hmm.
there were more ports than starboards, and I'm like, I'll do it. And so I think I jumped in it as a starboard stroke on that boat. I damn near
Yeah.
had a heart attack because at the 25th anniversary, at 25th
Yeah.
reunion, you still think you can row at a level that maybe I should not have been trying.
It was great. And we had a little swing. Like we really like it was a
Oh,
good
no, we were
row.
cooking. The
So,
boat was cooking.
hmm
And
you don't forget.
we were keeping up with like a 10th reunion boat, which was the problem. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Ah, glory days. Glory days.
Did did you have crew as an outlet upon moving, or was there reliable creative practice that you had throughout your life?
Until very recently, I would have told you that I was not creative, right? Like I was an art history major. We had to take a studio art course, and it was the hardest course I took in college. I I did not get a good grade, and it was shocking. It was so shocking to me. I was supposed to take a second studio art course, and I went to the head of the department and said, "Listen, I'm not going to do that because I mean, small-minded kid, like I can't I can't struggle that much. So instead of taking one senior thesis class and an extra studio and a studio art class, I will take three thesis classes if you let me out of that studio art requirement. Not, of course, realizing that that was a different kind of creativity, right? Like the professor recognized that. So, but I always thought that I couldn't, that I wasn't an artist, that I wasn't creative. Um, but I needle pointed and I sang and you know, I would be a, I would be highly marriageable in like uh, in the Bennett household because I can sing passably and write a poem passably and my handwriting is excellent and I can embroider a bit. Um, not so much that I would intimidate anyone, but but I didn't realize the craft. I didn't realize the craft in everything.
Yeah.
I wasn't really open to that. So I probably did have creative through lines there and didn't understand that that's what they were.
It,
Fascinating. You
Yeah.
clearly did have creative. What do you think didn't allow you to recognize it in yourself? Is there any self-reflection there on like what may have stopped that?
I I think a few things. I think and at different times different things.
Yeah.
Um so you learn the Western canon of art and what
Yep.
is and isn't art. Um, and women's needlework, for example, is craft, and there's
Mm.
a there's a distinction that's not really a difference, but there's a I mean it's the same story as in everything. Like who says what art is a
Right.
huge question.
Right.
Who says what creativity is?
Right.
Um, and so that definitely and you internalize that until you understand it, um, and then things open up in a different way. So
Wisdom is hard earned.
yeah, and then I had a lovely marriage, a very full and long marriage that ended amicably, to a musician and a performer, more performer than musician. And one of the things I did immediately following that was start doing karaoke because all of a sudden I was like, I love to sing, and I have not opened my mouth to sing because I've been living with someone who sings and doesn't actually really. close it much. And so, like, I spent a few months enjoying the silence, but then someone was like, "Hey, let's go do karaoke." I was like, "Oh, I can't imagine that." And I did what I've done at other points in my life too, when I didn't have a voice, which was I kind of pretended I was someone else and got up there and sang. And in my head, I was like, "Well, no one knows it's me. They think I'm other person, so this isn't unusual for them." Um, but I've married those two split personalities in my head now. Um, Crew, in a weird way, helped me find my voice too, because I was pretty timid when I got to boarding school and didn't say much, and was really intimidated by the people, the really smart people who talked a lot, um, and I was sort of fiercely quiet, and I think that that may surprise you, Munir, because I was not really quiet by the time you met me. And part of that was that I was like, oh, that guy used to make me this particular man I'm thinking of, I won't name him, in my boarding school. Like he talked all the time. And when I got to college, I was like, I'll just pretend I'm him. And I'll just like this is how he would respond in this class. And then I then realized that that was no, that was how I was going to respond. That wasn't him.
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
internalized it.
Mm.
That is a theme of you not talking.
Weird, isn't it? And y'all, I do not shut up now.
In the best way.
In
In
the
the
best
best
way. In the
in the
best
best
way.
ways. Can you share with us, you've said that you're not creative or you didn't recognize your creativity, but clearly you have lots of creativity as a through line. I mean, art history and all of it. What were some of the early influences that you had?
I brought a picture.
Okay. I love it.
So this is going to sound really strange. My grandmother in her powder room of her townhouse had this wallpaper that I found to be fascinating. And I was thinking about it once and I had this deep dive on the internet. I actually found it. This is from deep 70s. Um, I'm like an influencer, like when they do the tap thing.
Oh yeah. I love
So
it.
it's it's actually called Doodle by a couple called a company Sandia, I think, Sanitas.
Okay.
Um, and so it was doodles like that of people in bathroom scenes.
Okay.
And one of them, and like, so I'm a kid, right? It's the 70s. I'm like a little kid, single
Yeah.
digits. There's this woman sitting here reading in the bathtub with her little dog sticking out the back. There's a guy looking in the mirror and shaving. There is a shower curtain around a bathtub, and there are two arms coming out here and one arm coming out the top. Um, and so there are people in these vignettes that are a little hard to parse,
Yeah.
especially if you're 9.
Yeah.
And I sat there and would just like, I was like, what's the story of that? And my grandmother would eventually be like, what are you doing in there? I'm like, I'm just like making up the stories of all these people. I didn't say that to her, but like what I
Uh-huh.
was doing was sitting in there like, why does someone sit in a bathtub but wearing a jacket? Why are there three arms coming out of the shower? Like, it's the 70s. I think now I know why there are three arms coming out of the shower, but um, like, so when you observe stuff like that and you're like, what's the story here? That right, curiosity goes hand in hand with creativity.
Yeah.
I, you would agree, I assume. Um, and I was very curious about this wallpaper. I would love to find a roll of this wallpaper. It would be amazing.
That
That's a
was what
challenge.
I was wondering
Yeah.
is what you have an actual piece of the wallpaper from the bathroom, or is it?
No, but it turns out there are a lot of people who've renovated old houses and they have this wallpaper. And there are all these old home renovation forums, and people are like, look at this wallpaper. And this particular brand was apparently designed for bathrooms. So it was designed to be mold and mildew and damp resistant. So it peels off very well when you remove it, even after decades. So a
Wow.
lot of people have like big tear sheets of it from taking it out of their houses.
That's
Um,
amazing.
and I am not yet at the point where I would write to a stranger and say, could I purchase some strips of used wallpaper from you that I would like to frame? Other people pulling it off have framed it for their own homes. I'm like trying not to acquire other like used wallpaper. Like I feel like I need to draw a line. because I kind of acquire stuff, and so that seems like I have the memory, I have the lesson, I can find pictures. That's probably enough.
So is that a printed picture?
Yeah, just like yeah, just
Okay.
like printed. Yeah,
Well, I
but
also had visions of you drawing it and recreating it.
oh, I'm a trained like it would be stick figures, and like you wouldn't be able to tell if it was a human stick figure or not if I were drawing it. So,
Have you read The Artist's Way?
okay, so this is a theme in my life, and the podcast I want to start with my friend Chet is called. I didn't actually read it, but I read the title, and here's what I think. So because he and I are constantly like, oh, did you read that article in the New York Times? We'll start talking about like, well, I didn't actually read it, but I just like saw the blurb. And he's like, oh yeah, I didn't either. But we like fill in the blanks. So I I do go through fits and starts of morning pages, um, because I do find that because I write all the time
Uh-huh.
and I need a way to reconnect to the fun of writing and to take myself out of my head with it. So I find that can be helpful. And sometimes I have to use a prompt. And I don't know if Morning Pages allows for a prompt or not, but I don't actually care what it allows for or not. Um, but so sometimes I'm really good about sitting down and doing that. And sometimes it's 3:30 in the morning and I'm in here like working on a pitch doc or something like.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, so
Ross Gay, the poet and writer and essayist, had a Substack called Mondays Are Free. And it was writing prompts that he and
mm,
his creative partners had created, and they were daily writing prompts. And now listening to you, and I am more of a writer than a drawer. And I was wondering maybe there is a distinction. Those who write tend to write and not draw, and those who draw tend to draw and not write.
mhm.
I know Munir is a doodler and a writer. So I'm curious if there's overlap, if I'm
Yeah.
bucketing people. It's just something to think
Hmm.
about. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know. Interesting. I will tell you a great writing prompt if you ever need one. Um, I can't remember if it's Benjamin Moore or Sherwin Williams paints, but they have these color collections that they call color stories. And it's a collection of like 30 blue colors or 30 greens, and they all have these ridiculous names. And so I was going through the color stories, and the challenge was to write a short story as short as possible using the names of all the paint colors but not as paint colors, right? So that it was like, the cerulean down of the sky clashed with the Nixon's navy of the deep dark sea. Like the color, it's like it is you could do the same with all like nail polish from the Opie brand that have those
Yeah.
ridiculous colors. Like eh, it really was fun because they are goofy stories, but it
Oh,
really
that
also takes you way out of something that you have like it's hard but fun and ridiculous.
that's great. We'll keep that one in mind. Talk about cerulean blues.
Yes. The Blues are good for this one. They've got great names.
Did you play games as a family? What did fun look like growing up?
Wow. So I think really that I played the most important game for anyone who is interested in world domination, and that is Risk. Um, you know,
Wow.
uh, we I played backgammon a lot.
Mhm.
We didn't play a lot of games. We were more of a puzzle family, and really on
Okay.
my mother's side, we were a puzzle family. My dad was a Scrabble player. Um,
Did we grow up
brutal,
together?
brutal. So, and puzzles are still like that is one of the few things that can shut my brain down and get me in flow state is working on a puzzle.
Yeah.
Like,
Flow state is nice.
hmm,
You mentioned Scrabble. First of all, we were a Risk family.
Mm. Oh, well, yeah.
Second of all, my dad's favorite thing to do in Scrabble would be get the dictionary, get the dictionary, because he would put words down, and you're like,
Hmm.
come on, that's not a word. Get the
Yeah.
dictionary. And I think what now that we're talking about it, it's making me realize the flexibility in language, the
Hmm.
flexibility in gameplay, and not necessarily like, are there gray areas within gameplay, and thus are there gray areas in life, edge
Yeah.
cases that we can take advantage of without, you know considering it cheating, because if it's in the dictionary, then
To be clear, though, it's also with Scrabble, it's like the salesmanship. Because if people, like, if you're good enough at it, and like, I've read a lot, so I have a big vocabulary. I took Latin and Greek, right? Like, so objectively, I should be good at Scrabble. And but I'm kind of rigid when it comes to rules, so it's hard for me to put down a word that's not a rule. But then I really like you have the word that's not a rule, but you have to, if you sell it, if you're like, I mean, how could that, here it's derived from this, and it's just because you don't know it, right? Um, like, you can look at, here's the dictionary, right? The like, here's my bluff. Go ahead, look it
totally.
up. The number of times I was like, go
I
ahead, look
dare
it up.
you.
And then
Right.
someone did, and they're like, it is not a word. And I'm like, ah, you had to try. Like, so, but I always hated losing to people who, in my mind, were not so good with the words, but they were better
Yeah.
at Scrabble. Because there's
Yeah.
strategy sometimes with Scrabble. You can know all of the words, the very good words, but still not be good with the strategy.
Yeah,
This
there's a game like the little
Hmm.
double word, triple word,
Oh,
making
yeah.
things.
That's a good point.
Mm.
This feels that maybe this is a stretch, but it feels a little bit connected to getting a law degree.
I think it is. Um, I I I think there's a certain kind of kid who grows up with everyone saying, "Oh, you should be a lawyer." And what I now as an adult am like, so was I like a pedantic asshole as a kid? Like that, because that's it's like now when people are like, "You should be a politician," and I'm like, "Do you hate me?" Um, but yeah, like I just kind of assumed I was gonna go to law school, and I didn't know what else I was. So I had my first fundraising job. I loved it. I did my little. I'd gotten into law school and was gonna take the summer off, which is how I ended up as the art car parade intern, which was like a brilliant and amazing job. Um, and I through that like almost when I was telling someone just last night the story of how at the last minute at the art car parade at the Orange Show where that was hosted, um, I was planning a trip before law school to walk the Camino de Santiago, but the art car artist came into town, and one of the ones I'd been talking to from San Francisco, an artist named Chicken John Rinaldi. I think he actually ran for mayor of San Francisco many years later. He used to play guitar with Gigi Allen, which is also like a whole weird thing. But he was traveling with a circus, and I made them dinner the night before the parade, or the night before the night before, and they were like, "You should join the circus. We're going to New Orleans next." And I, for about 24 hours, was like, "Okay, the parade's going to end, and I'm like, the hell with law school. I'm joining the circus." And then I was like, "Oh, I." They're like, "But you have to have a like a thing that you do, and you have to have a thing you can sell, a craft you can sell to make money on the road." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's not me. I better go to law school, right?" Like, so I went to law school. Turns out I hated it the first time through. What I wanted to be was an advocate, and I didn't understand that not all lawyers were advocates, and not all advocates are lawyers. And I didn't figure out how to be an advocate as a lawyer. And so I got through it. I passed the bar. I got sworn in, have met my contractual obligation now that everyone knows that my parents were like so excited for me to be a lawyer. And then I was not. Um, and it was almost there that I started to, I mean, that's where the fuzziness that I realize I now love. There's not a lot of fuzziness in law school. Like there was no reward for doing the reading and the footnote and asking a question that was tangential because everyone was like, is it on the test or not? At least at the law school I went to. And there are lawyers and there are law professors from time to time who like it is in the footnotes and they want to talk about stuff, but that was not my experience of it. And so I just didn't, you know, I'm glad I did it. It was good training in a lot of ways. It's persuasive writing, and that's what I do. So that's helpful. Um, but that first time through was not, I got through it in spite of it. And because I also wasn't aware at that point in life that you could actually quit something,
Right.
right? Like that, I didn't have a lot of experience with quitting. And the one experience I had, which was cruel, was brutal. And so I was not going to quit law school. I was going to power through if it killed me. Um, and boy, I was glad when it was done. So yeah. But then I went back, right? I went back 25 years later, 25, 26. I went on, and that was like, that was me. Like I wanted to go. It was entirely on me, almost on a whim during the pandemic. Um, and uh, it was terrifying. Um, it was hard. I took a class on, because I went back to get a master's in tax law, because nothing says fun to anyone else other than I think I'm going to get a master's in tax law.
It was
Like
obviously purpose driven.
it was purpose driven.
We had such a great time talking to Andrea that we decided to create a 2-part episode. Next week, we dive into why she got a second law degree, the origins of Project Row Houses, and working with renowned artist Rick Lowe